What is up, Netflix fans, and welcome back to my channel. Today we are talking Season 3 of 13 Reasons Why. I need your comments down below. Did you enjoy this particular season, and are you a fan of this show? And let's get into it. So this season of 13 Reasons Why, Season 3, the cops are questioning Clay about Bryce's disappearance as Clay is remembering the aftermath of what happened at the spring fling. And let's get right into it. So the case with the show like 13 Reasons Why, most of the time, and this happens pretty often with a Netflix show, because whether it's an obscure audience of people who are watching this show just to go find someone to agree with them, or it's a show like 13 Reasons Why, you're still in it during Season 3, therefore you've enjoyed it enough to get to this point, and whether you enjoyed it or you were slightly disappointed in it, a lot of people are just kind of searching for someone to agree with them, and I completely understand that. Listen, I'll watch a show and a movie sometimes, and I search on YouTube, and I'm like, I just want to find a person that agrees with me because I feel a certain way about the show or movie, and I don't think 13 Reasons Why is a great season of television. I don't, and that's going to automatically tune a lot of people out, and you're done, see you later, doesn't agree with me. But listen, I did enjoy, well, the concept of the show in the beginning was good, but I actually thought Season 1 was pretty good. It's well done. And not to say Season 3 isn't well done. I mean, on a technical level, even though I saw the trailer and I'm like, well, I don't love the way that they're handling color correction when they're flashing back and forward through time, and just the style of this show has kind of digressed for me since Season 1. I wasn't the biggest fan of Season 2, and a lot of the reason is because they went away from what worked about Season 1, but after Season 1 came to an end, it's like, what do you do from here? And it just felt like they were kind of picking up the scraps and trying to find something to do with these characters because people like the show and they want to capitalize on the fact that people like the show and they're going to bring them back for another season. And I feel kind of the same way about Season 3. Now, I will say, I do think I liked Season 3 a bit more than Season 2, because Season 2 for me just didn't work. It was too much of the melodrama. It was too much of teenagers slightly doing teenage things, but dealing with darker things that you would deal with in a show that maybe handles things in more of a comedic light, or one that doesn't push the buttons or handle the topics that this show handles. And as everyone knows, 13 Reasons Why, it tries its very best to juggle not one of those, but all of those, whether it is drug addiction, suicide, people not accepting who they are, struggling to come to terms with oneself. They are multiple serious topics, and when a show tries to kind of bobble those and handle all of those things, a lot of the times it's going to fall flat. Now, you look at a show like Euphoria, not to compare the two shows because they're completely different, but Euphoria was done in a way, regardless of how you feel about the final episode, but it was done in a way that pushed the narrative forward without compromising the characters and without feeling like it was doing it just to be doing it. And that's honestly how I feel with 13 Reasons Why. I feel like the show exists because there is a fan base, not because it had a great story and it wanted to tell this story. No, and the story is interesting enough, right? I mean, we have the disappearance of this character in Bryce, and that's kind of the through line throughout this entire season, and it really is Clay and the gang trying to figure out exactly what happened, who did it, what were the motivations of the person that did it, and then they start to find out, well, maybe it's not the person that we thought it was, or maybe we're tracking down the wrong clues, even though they are obviously leading us to this situation. And the way that that plays out, the way that that develops, it was interesting enough. And that's why I'm not going to sit here and say that this was a bad season of television, because I don't think it's bad. The acting is actually really good. I've been saying this for so long, Dylan Minnette is one of those actors. You see a performance and he just continues to deliver, whether it's a movie or a television show, even something like the first Goosebumps film. It's not a movie you're like, oh, the showcase of acting talent, but he was really good in the film, and he brings it every single season. And I think everyone is, it's a teen show and it's dealing with teenage things, and a lot of the times you're going to have, clearly they're a bit older than teenagers, but you're going to have actors who aren't as competent as the material. And not to say that this material is overwhelmingly competent, but these actors do measure up, and I really do like the performances. Nothing feels extremely forced. Now, at times, the narrative, the script, the dialogue, sometimes It's not the best, but that's not the actor's fault. And this season we have a new character in Grace Safe's character of Annie, and you know what? She was really good. It starts out and it's her voice kind of carrying the first few episodes, and she is telling the story of what actually went down, her experiences with meeting certain characters, and she forms this relationship with Clay that was actually quite nice, and I really like the chemistry between the two. They call each other out for a lot of their teenage quirks, and I truly enjoyed what went down. And here's what I'll say about this series, right? If you are a teenager and you relate to some of these struggles, and when I say struggles, I do mean struggles. I mean, there are things that kids are dealing with in the show, and it does feel like at times they're kind of stuffing everything in there, and I started to feel that in season 1. Definitely did feel it in season 2. Season 3, yes, you can deal with all of these things in high school. I understand, but there are moments when I sit back and I look at the characters' decisions and I'm like, why didn't you try to maybe talk to your parents instead of your friend? Why didn't you develop that relationship a bit more? And I thought the relationships with the parents, they were good and they were handled well on the show, but it's like a lot of these problems that they're struggling with, they don't cry out for help in the right direction. And at times, it did feel like the writers of the show made decisions for these teenage kids that maybe teenage kids wouldn't actually make. They were making decisions as if they were a parent looking down on these kids, writing the show, and you kind of feel that at times. And I don't like when shows in this vein make decisions like that for the characters. This season also deals with the guns, and not to spoil too much about the plot, but in the first episode, Clay is standing there with a gun in his hands because of the situation that just happened. I don't want to give away plot points, but it does kind of involve this unraveling mystery that has to do with certain characters that are being looked at for, hey, maybe you're the one that did it. Maybe you're the reason why he's missing, but it's all about what happened to this character. A character that, you know, maybe some people in the show aren't the biggest fan of, so it doesn't bother them, it doesn't concern them about what happened to Bryce. The character of Tyler is interesting in this season. We get more of a look at what he is going through and the past involving this situation, which I found extremely interesting. And you have the character of Clay kind of discovering that there are more similarities between he and the character of Bryce than he thought. And we get these revelations from him as, say, the police are interrogating him because maybe he was involved in that situation, his conversations with certain characters, and just the entire dynamic of the group. They are continuing to learn things about one another, and these are all things that I enjoyed about the show. It's just certain decisions, and really the narrative as a whole, it felt like it didn't know what it wanted to accomplish this season. Yes, we have what happened to Bryce, and we have to find that out, but it felt like every single episode, there were moments where it just kind of diverged in a different direction, and it could never find its focus. It never knew how it was going to get to where it ended up. It knew the end game. It's just the journey. That's the important part, especially for the core audience and for the people who love a show like 13 Reasons Why. We love it for the characters, and really the only reason why I'm still watching is because I am interested to see what happens to some of these characters, especially after what they went through in seasons 1 and 2. Losing Hannah, was the entire reason the show exists, yes, but it's all about the unraveling of the mystery, and they try to give this great mystery to season 3. I don't think it worked as well as they intended, but I still enjoyed elements of this season, and I do think if you're invested in 13 Reasons Why, and you've watched the show thus far, of course you're going to watch this season. May not measure up to what everybody thinks it should be, but if you're a casual fan and you don't care as much about the narrative structure or just a show that is bringing something new to the table, then I do think you'll enjoy it. I think you'll enjoy the acting. I don't think there's anything necessarily wrong with the direction, and the technical elements, they work. It's a show that's crafted in a way that's interesting enough. Is that good enough for me, someone who watches literally one show a week just to review? No, not for me, but it all comes down to personal taste. Did 13 Reasons Why work for you? Let me know that in the comments down below. And hey, if you enjoy this video, it definitely helps this channel out if you hit that thumbs up button. I'm gonna go 50% for 13 Reasons Why. Season 3, there are some good things about it, there are some bad things about it, and at the end of the day, I look at it, I'm kind of right down the middle. I wanted it to be better than it was. Way too long, 13 episodes. You could have cut 3-4 hours out of the season, and it would have been the exact same thing. Just a lot of monologuing. Don't get me wrong, they deal with important topics. These are topics that kids have to deal with, and they are things that a lot of people are going to relate to. It's just the writing, the execution, and the way that they go about the entire thing. I think it could have been better. And that's my review of 13 Reasons Why Season 3. I have a Patreon account, and we are doing some crazy things on there. Podcasts, ranking videos, reviews, all of those things happening over there. And of course, later on today, so many videos, reviews, tier lists to come. You guys are the best, and I'll see you very soon.